Have any of you become exhausted yet? No? Okay, let's go. This is going to be a review, and there's only a couple little things that are embellishments, some new pictures and some addition, but mainly, as we discussed, this is an important, in the stages of bhakti, it's a very important stage. It's the stage where most of us are. Somewhere in between the unsteady and moving towards the steady. Maybe some of you at the prema stage, but most of us are somewhere in between unsteady and steady. And so the anarthas vritti platform is where we're spending our time. This is coming tomorrow morning, chapter 4, the stage of nishtha. Of course, the stage of nishtha is actually number 5. Here's the stages, nishtha. But so far, Shraddha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anarthas vritti nishtha. That's where we're headed. We're going to be discussing today review of removal of unwanted desires or reactions to unwanted desires that are now nestled in our heart, unwanted things. And then nishtha. So that's where we're headed. And then, of course, there's more to go after that. A characteristic, we'll hear about it more tomorrow, but it's distinct from this more spontaneous stage where in the stage of nishtha, it's guided by intelligence. You know, if things are in proper order, the intelligence guides the mind. And the mind goes to, depending upon where you are in your devotional practice, it goes to the hearing and chanting, and there's some attraction and some taste for hearing and chanting. And then comes, it's not just the hearing and chanting attraction, it's the object of hearing and chanting. And then it's not just guided by intelligence, but it's more on the spontaneous stage. That's what these two are indicating, ruchi and asakti. Asakti, single-minded attachment to devotional service performed while meditating on Lord Krishna's eternal pastimes, which appear in the devotee's heart spontaneously by their own will, svarasaki. That's pretty elevated. I mean, in Bhagavad Gita, it's perform your prescribed duty and always think of me. And that's not this and then do that, and then after doing that you do some of this, and then you balance, that word that I don't like so much. But you do both. Prescribed duty and always think of Krishna. Then in the asakti stage, it's not just sadhana, it's still in the sadhana. Why it's still in the sadhana stage, we'll hear as we get closer, is because there's still some unwanted things within. Whew, those unwanted things, they don't want to go away. But because there's still some unwanted things, it's still in the sadhana bhakti stage. And yet it's characterized by spontaneous meditation on Krishna's pastimes while doing whatever you do. And suddenly, in the midst of, Krishna may appear in your mind. Or Krishna may talk to you, or Krishna may, whatever Krishna wants to do of his own sweet will. And those sudden appearances of Krishna doing what Krishna does has a nice Sanskrit name, Swa, Rasaki, Bhava. It's preliminary to the Bhava stage. So we'll get there. And before we get there, we're going to review the Anarthanivriti platform with special emphasis on Anishtata bhakti. So Anarthanivriti means eradication of unwanted things, cleaning up unwanted things, anarthas, and it mentioned it overlaps with higher stages, means it's not complete yet, but it has a beginning and a middle, and then it finally, all anarthas are removed at the bhava stage. Then we discussed, this is all review, from where do anarthas arise? We had this as a quiz question at the beginning of the morning class, no, the midday class. There's 4 places: sinful activities, pious activities, bhakti successfully performed, and then, but not completely so, it's because there's still some attraction for profit, adoration, distinction. So then we broke it down, pious activities, it's one of those 4 categories, and lo and behold, there's 4 categories of that category. Asat Trishna. We reviewed this. Gross material things, attaining Swarga, mystic cities, and Trishna for liberation. Asat Trishna. So now, these are some graphics you haven't seen before, but it's just saying the same thing. When there's fruits of piety, there's a tendency to enjoy the fruits of piety. And when there's a tendency to enjoy the fruits of piety, that blocks bhakti. So don't worry about the fruits of piety. Act in ways that are in keeping with what pious as opposed to impious or sinful is. But when fruits come, don't think of yourself as the enjoyer of those fruits. But there is a tendency that entices one to be the enjoyer, and that blocks bhakti. Then we also spoke about when there's the fruits of piety and someone's pious, so they get fruits of piety, but supposing their heart is not pure, sometimes. And so what's the result? Pride. The pride destroys everything good. So be good, but don't be prideful. And another way of saying what pride is, it's the mind portion of the I and mind. Aham mameti, it's the mind. What's mine is what comes from me. If I'm this body, then what comes from this body is mine. So my work and the fruits of my work, or my family, my home, my bank balance, my whatever it is, it's mine. And one may be prideful of mine. And that's a burden. And someone who's proud, we've had the experience, you try to help the person who's proud and they're hanging on to their pride. because that's their valuables. They don't want to let go of their valuables, although it's a big burden. Therefore, Raghunath Das Goswami advises, Sada Dambham Hitva. Always give up pride. It's right in Manushiksha. It's nice, very nice instructions from Raghunath Das Goswami. So we have this Asat Trishna thing. It had these three stages: gross material things, piety leading to heaven. Some people, that's a large number of people that are trying to be pious. That's what they want. They don't want to go to the nice place, leave this place. They have to qualify themselves, so they engage in philanthropy and charity and do good things to get to a good place. Mystic cities. We spend some time, we'll cover it again. This is not liberation per se, it's the desire for liberation that's in the Asat platform, is something that blocks bhakti. Say it negatively. When there's bhakti, then there isn't. Oh, I want to get something from serving Krishna. I want to get goodies. It's nice. It's an impetus to want Krishna's association. In the higher stages of sadhana bhakti, there's categories, nice Sanskrit terms that match those categories. So it's not wanting to be with Krishna is a problem. Wanting to have an intimate personal relationship with Krishna, that's not the problem. Just wanting the thirst for liberation. There's a distinction. It's not the positive, it's avoiding the negative. And we saw this verse. There's the Sanskrit from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhukti, Mukti, Spriha. That's material enjoyment. Bhukti, Mukti, Spriha, Yavat, Pishachi, Riddhi, Vartate. The material desire, Spriha, for bhukti or mukti, desire for mukti, or to become liberated from material bondage, they're two witches. And they haunt one like ghosts. As long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there's no possibility of enjoying the transcendental bliss of devotional service. So there she is, Halloween lady. Just out of just some sharing to break the repetition. Prabhupada writes in his Bhaktivedanta purports, in the northwest of India, there's still such persons, pishachis, who ride on a tree branch. Now, it's Halloween, she rides on a broomstick. But those that actually do it is a tree branch, and somehow the tree branch becomes their conveyance, and they travel around here and there and cackle and, do witch-like things. And it exists today, I was told, in China. The northwest part of China, there's pishachis, and they travel around on, whenever they travel on tree branches or broomsticks or however they travel, and they do spooky things. So it's not, it's in the Bhagavatam, but it's contemporary. I've never seen one, but there are such things, apparently. And material desire and desire for liberation from material bondage, this way or that way, material joy, material desire, material facilities of material world, or free from material bondage. The desire for either of those are like witches. They block bhakti. So, similar definition. Where do anarthas arise from? Here, those three sinful, pious, bhakti successfully performed. Here's a little detail on that one. But you're successful in bhakti, and there's some facilities. I every now and then I travel. And I've gotten quite used to, there are different accommodation places when I travel. I don't select, oh, I want to go to Houston a lot because they got a really nice place. And I don't want to go to that place because it's like too tiny and so forth. Now, the person that planned this sannyas ashram made a nice plan, and there were funds to do it, and so it's a nice place. But it doesn't make, oh, yummy, let me go as much as I can to Houston because it's a nice place, or let me not go to the other. It's facilities offered by bhakti. In becoming the enjoyer of the facilities offered by bhakti, you had this in your breakout session, I believe, some discussion on Taranga Rangani. And that's from the unsteady bhakti stage. Now it's moving into this, it's an obstacle. It's in the anushtita bhakti stage. So what to do? If that's a problem, what do you do? Here's what you don't do. Oh, no. You can do that, but that's not a Vaishnava thing to do. The Vaishnava thing to do is someone praises, and it goes right through you to where the person who gave you whatever it is that you're being praised, it goes to that person or that source. You're just transparent, and you just, yes, Srila Prabhupada trained us up so nicely that we were dogs, or in the animal kingdom, and he picked us up and made us into somewhat civilized human beings. The credit goes to him. So you're appreciating, it's his credit. If you see something bad, I'll take the responsibility. You see something good, it's his credit, or something like that. It doesn't stick. Here's a nice painting. This is Krishna disappeared from the Rasa dance, and he hid. Different descriptions. This one, he's hiding in the branch of a tree. He wants to see, what are the gopis going to do now? So Brahma Vaivarta Purana says, Krishna is never far from they who are humble. Many tall mountains stand between Lord Krishna and they who are proud. So proud as it sticks, and humble it doesn't stick. Be successful. Oh Prabhu, you dress the deities so nicely. Yes. I dress the deities, something. I mean, it takes a lot. And I've said this so many times, every time I come here, I'm amazed at how the details, and there's a whole team of people behind they're doing things for making decorations and flower ornaments and this and that and decorating the face of the deities. And how many flutes does Nilamadhava have? Etc. How many effulgences? How many anything? Anyway, and then which one today? Which one for this week? Which one for this month? Which one for this festival? And making a new dress, and it's bhakti, making an offering. And someone says, "Oh, you made such a nice offering." It doesn't stick. I mean, for Vaishnava, because the alternative is pride, and pride is a beast. Beware of the beast named pride, because it destroys everything. So, enough of that. We're going to move on in our review. These are the first three: sinful, pious, and bhakti successfully performed. Then comes offense. And we heard about offenses, and we heard about starting the number one offense is in namaparad, the offense of sadhuninda, and under namaparad, but it overlaps also in Vaishnavaparad. It's in two boxes. So it's not good. Seva aparad, this is review. And there may very well be questions, maybe there won't be questions. Anarthas arising from offenses due to seva, only when deliberately done. Referring you again to those lists of what are the categories. If there is some unintentional, not deliberate, seva aparad, there's recommendation. Chanting, of course, but specific prayers, constantly performing devotional service, staying so filled with the positive, there isn't room for repetition of the negative. And specifically, the reactions are effectively removed by constant chanting, of course, without offense. Then there's our sadhu ninda program. There's our nice sadhu friend, different guy that we saw before. And in the list that we just saw, it's the second one, seva aparad and Vaishnava aparad, or sadhu ninda. And it's also the first in the list of namaparads. And we spent a lot of time covering different ways, features. Bhakti, here's the key. Bhakti, bhakta, and the Lord's mercy, these are all on the spiritual side. But one doesn't see them if one doesn't see them on the spiritual side, they're the fundamental basis for attaining transcendental life, our connection again with Krishna. And then there's the negative, and the negative blocks bhakti. Disrespect, faithlessness, negligence, blasphemy of the sadhus, big problem. Here's some additional references. This is Skanda Purana. It has a different list than what we saw in the morning session or the midday session. 6 types of Vaishnava aparad. Skanda Purana. Kill a Vaishnava, blaspheme him, hate him, not greet him, be angry with him, not be glad to see him. They're similar, but a little different. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita calls sadhu ninda the mad elephant offense. You're familiar with that one. You're growing a garden, and you invite a wild elephant. Let's go for a walk in our garden. I mean, poor garden. The garden of bhakti is no place for a mad elephant. And sadhu ninda is that type of an offense. It's likened to releasing a mad elephant in your garden. Here's the reference from Chaitanya Charitamrita. If the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. Mad elephant offense. So we spent a lot of time, so this is just a shorter review. You recognize this fellow. This is the fellow who we're supposed to see as a sadhu, even if he's well behaved, if actually he has taken shelter of Govinda and wants to become, Govinda's man. But he has come from a dark background. So that's a sadhu also. Aside from sadhu ninda, we spoke briefly about guru. That the guru is also to be respected. That means his instructions, and the instructions aren't to be neglected. This is review. This is Gopakumar speaking about his receiving mantra. His spiritual master didn't give him a lot. He was so much in ecstasy when he gave the mantra. He was just in a swoon. He didn't give many details about anything. But he had faith in his guru, and so he continued, and later they met, and then later they met, and he gave from further instructions. But he never left his chanting. He never left his chanting. When there were so many invitations and enticements, he never left. Because he was faithful to his guru, and to the mantra given to him by his guru. We saw this, offense number 3, disrespecting the Vedas. There was some discussion, so I thought it'd be nice to show this slide again. Same slide we saw earlier. You still have questions on this? Yeah, you asked this question, didn't you? Who asked this question? Huh? I couldn't hear you. You asked this question. Okay, let's read it again and see. You can interrupt and see if you have further. Because the Shrutis do not directly mention bhakti. It's embedded, but you have to do some excavation. Like Rasavaisaha. Where's bhakti? So one can reach other conclusions. And they do. This means that Vyas, after compiling all the Vedas, was feeling dissatisfied. And Narada said, yeah, because you didn't directly glorify sufficiently. It's there, but didn't sufficiently glorify. Okay, good. Instead, they emphasize karma conduct. See them as steps in the yoga ladder. And there is emphasis on demigod worship and so many other things to get, to have necessities of life fulfilled by the Vedic process. Along with creation came the Vedas. There's, it wasn't 1, 2, it was simultaneous. You need to have necessities, here's how to fulfill them. You get an instrument and it has an operating manual. So the Vedas is like the operating manual of life. How to live your life in such a way the necessities of life are provided. With submission to the source of this world and the source of those instructions, how to use the device, the machine. Praise the Vedas, praise persons who teach the Vedas. We saw this, 10th offense, this is Bhakti Vinod, not being attached to or attentive to the holy name in spite of hearing its glories. And according to scripture, this is the root of all the additional 9 offenses. Of the 10th offense is the root of the other 9. Distraction, inattention, having attraction for something temporary, and thus affinity for the temporary, and thus offense. Now, we had some discussion on Bharat Maharaj Bhava Bhakti falling. And Radhakrishna Prabhu shared some additional information. I'm going to go through what we already saw. And here's what we already saw. This is Bharat Maharaj renounced his kingdom and everything and everything and everything. And he achieved Bhava Bhakti, which is very, very elevated. Bhava Bhakti. And he fell from Bhava Bhakti. Now we're going to hear a little bit further detail by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commenting on Dvidvida falling. And it's possible for one who attains a very elevated state to still make offense and then fall. Here's Bharat Maharaj. Deep, extensive devotion to Surya Narayana, not just the sun god, but the Surya Narayana. Surya Narayana. And Bhava Bhakti, he's a bhakta. And he became distracted, as we heard the story. At times he would just interrupt. You don't interrupt. Once you do some yajna, you don't interrupt. Just like when you're chanting Gayatri, you don't interrupt. You can stop and go back and do it all over again, but you don't interrupt. And doing yajnas, but he would stop his yajna and go pay attention to the fawn. And just he became a doting parental figure for this baby deer. And he was just desisted from his spiritual practice eventually. So then the question is, how is it possible for someone on the Bhava Bhakti stage to give up all of what he gave up? Considering all of what he gave up was, elevated, and he gave it up because it was an impediment for achieving the goal of bhakti. Now here he's getting attached to a deer. So here's the verse 5:8:26. Bharat Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire, which was manifested in the form of a deer, due to fruitive results of his past deeds. So it's not karma or prarabdha karma, because that's not around anymore. So if it wasn't around anymore, what's being referred to? It's offense. That's what's being said. This is Bhakti Sandarbha. We saw this. I'll read it. Ordinary fruitive work, fruitive activities are not strong enough to create such an impediment in the path of devotional service, like falling down from Bhava Bhakti. They don't have the strength. Therefore, the fruitive activities mentioned in this verse must have been, it's inference, must have been offenses performed in a previous birth. In this way, King Bharata is like King Indradyumna and other devotees that committed offenses. Now, there's another perspective. By now, you're probably quite used to different acharyas have different perspectives on the same thing. And here's Sanatana Goswami's note, because this is, Radhakrishna brought this to my attention. He brought the book, but I didn't know if you were going to be able to bring the book, so it's just on the screen. You can read it. There's 3 verses where Bharat Maharaj's situation is being discussed. The great souls who spontaneously serve the names of Lord Hari fear to reveal the vast treasure of his confidential devotional service, so they behave in peculiar ways to show their faults and unhappiness. So it was an act, according to this commentary, Sanatana Goswami. What about the advanced worshippers like Bharat Maharaj, whose impending sinful reactions apparently kept going on? Well, we heard it can't keep going on. We should understand that when saintly devotees like Bharata, deeply absorbed in the modes of loving service to the Lord, Bhava Bhakti, seem to exhibit material attachment, as when Bharata became obsessed with the care of an infant deer, and when they seem to fall into bad association and miserable conditions, as when Bharata took his next birth as an animal. They are only pretending to be materially affected. He's off in the forest. Who is he pretending? Who's the audience? In order to keep their confidential moods of devotional service hidden from public view. He's the emperor. So whatever he does, people are going to find out even when he's in the forest. Such devotees would rather be treated with undeserved contempt than honored and worshipped. Now this is Sanatana Goswami's commentary, or his realizations. It's he wrote the book, and he wrote the commentary on his book. So here's the next. All the devotees of the Lord are freed from contamination and misery simply by the sankirtan of his names. Yet some devotees, as disturbed by compassion as the Lord himself, act in these ways to teach people civilized behavior. That's exception, but some have that penchant. Shouldn't advanced devotees, in order to deliver the world from ignorance, let everybody see their greatness? Yes, but the so-called anomalous behavior of Vaishnavas, like Bharat Maharaj, is in fact their way to teach sadachar, civilized human behavior. I mean, like looking after rescuing the deer and taking care of the deer. Shivananda Saint did the same thing with the dog, the street dog, and we heard that description. What's he doing with it? He's a dirty dog. But he had compassion. By their example, by the examples of their own lives, they show the consequences of violating the laws of God and material nature. For if people fail to learn how to act according to civilized standards, their hearts will remain contaminated by sinful desires, and they will never become inclined towards the Lord's devotional service. So he was teaching purposefully. This commentary is saying, by choice, purposefully, acting as if he's an ordinary person who got contaminated. The final of these three verses. As Bharata and others showed the fault of bad association, Yudhishthira and others the fault of gambling, and Nriga and others the fear caused by taking a brahmana's property, pure souls generally use their own behavior to teach the people. And commentary by Sanatana Goswami. Bharat Maharaj showed by his own life the danger of wrong association, meaning the deer. Not caring for the deer, but obsessive. Although almost perfectly devoted and renounced, he was distracted into caring for a newborn deer and therefore had to suffer birth as a deer. A similar case is that of Selbari Rishi, who was deviated from meditation by seeing two fish engaged in sex. In the opinion of the Vaikuntha Dutas, however, in reality, these elevated souls were faultless. Now, Sanatana Goswami isn't saying faultless, he's saying the Vishnu Dutas said. It's like saying they were faultless. Because the Vishnu Dutas, they're faultless. And we had one more, if you remember, the one more Dvidvida. So without reading the text, Dvidvida and his brother Minda, they were sons of the Ashvini Kumaras, and there's a lot to say about both of them, but they were intimate associates of Lord Ramachandra, intimate ministers of Sugriva, and particularly mentioned is Dvidvida offended Lakshmana twice, once verbally and the other in his mind. And because of his offense to Lakshmana, who's Vaishnava and Guru, he had a reaction. There was a consequence for Vaishnava aparad and Guru aparad, and that was he became susceptible to bad association. The bad association was Narakasura, and he became corrupted by that bad association. And when Narakasura was killed by Krishna, he became inimical to Krishna. You know, just a complete 180 through offending Lakshmana. And with it came pride. He was really strong, but he was using his strength as service to Ramachandra during the battle in Lanka. But that strength became his nemesis due to pride in his strength, because of the change of his heart. And here's cut and paste. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this from 3rd chapter of Madhurya Kadambini. He calls it Mahat Aparad, and he writes, or the translation of what he has written, there is a possibility of offending Mahats, even at the stage of Rati or Prema. Rati means Bhava, or Prema. When a sadhaka has attained the Prema stage, he gets full mercy of the Lord with direct association and service, then only cessation of aparadhodita anarthas is absolute. Got it? Read it again if you want to, because I'm going to leave it. It's important. There is a stage where it's absolute. Absolute means absolute. And there's a stage before absolute. It's almost absolute. And it's possible for such persons to make offense and then experience the consequence of that offense. There's many subtle things to, for example, something and something and something. But at least this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of what happened with Dvidvida. When there's offenses, there's anarthas that arise from offenses. Generally, those offenses are in the category of namaparad, and this nice word. By inference, when it says offenses against the name, it means all the other limbs of bhakti. Then this nice verse, Canto 11, Chapter 2, close your eyes and run. You'll never fall. It indicates enthusiasm, spontaneous enthusiasm. And so enthusiastic you may neglect an injunction or prohibition, and there's no aparad. So this is a nice example. We all know the example. Our young Vaishnava here, you know this example? What the painting is showing? No? There's the Gruda Stamba. Have you been inside the Jagannath temple in Puri? Yeah. So you know where the Gruda Stamba is? No? It's in the temple, towards the back. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would stand behind the Gruda Stamba to take darshan of the deities. So there he is, standing behind the Gruda Stamba. And one lady, the crowd was so big, she climbed up on his shoulders and stood on his shoulders and held onto the Gruda Stamba so she could see the deity. That's a no-no. That's like your sister was asking about Seva Aparad. That's in the Seva Aparad category. You don't stand on the sannyasi's shoulders to see the deity. And so the servant of Mahaprabhu was, get down, get off his shoulders, what are you doing? And Mahaprabhu said, no. If only I had the enthusiasm that she has to have darshan of Jagannath, my life would be perfect. So she's perfect because she has it. So she's violating the standard in enthusiasm, no aparad. Clear? Thank you. Padma Purana has this nice statement. Oh, best of the Brahmanas, offenses against the holy name result in a person losing all piety, and for him the mundane manifests in transcendental objects. It's, there's a cause and effect, but we state the cause and effect the other way. You see that which is spiritual as not spiritual. That's the root of offenses. And the root of offenses, you see more like that. And you just cyclical, compound with high interest. We're about to end. Hope you're ready. Aparad has this same distinction that we heard several times. Apa, radha, that which drives away one's desired perfection. So inattention leads to aparadha, that which drives away one's desired perfection. And here's our conclusion. And this is the end of our review, chapter 3. A fruit-bearing tree bears fruit only after a certain period of time. Not just any time, nor immediately upon being planted. Similarly, a devotee blessed by the holy name is showered with the mercy of the name in proper time. For some, it's shorter, some it's longer, and some it's somewhere in between, and some it seems like it's not going to happen. But what to do? Why and what to do? There's differences. That's the why, and it's okay. And it's Krishna. It's Krishna's manifesting himself however he wants to manifest himself, and he does through the agency of Bhakti Devi, who does through the agency of her devotees. So we have to be very respectful to the devotees and be eagerness to receive Krishna, that's good. But don't be impatient. Utsaha nishchaya dhairyat. I like this example, and I'll end. Once upon a time, I was little. I was littler than 12 years old. Before I was 12 years old, I was smaller. And what my father liked gardening, and we would do interesting things, outdoorsy types things. And one of those things during harvest season, like now, it's harvest season, we'd go out in orchards and pick apples, and go to berry orchards and pick berries, and it's just like outdoorsy stuff. And then have baskets, and my mother would make jam, and peach cobbler, and all that stuff. It's like family stuff. So one time, my father decided he wanted to plant a peach tree. He did lots of things. So I remember very clearly looking up at the peach tree. Where are the peaches? Be patient. Next year. Where are the peaches? Be patient. 3 years. Then finally, there were the little green things. Peaches. They didn't ripen. They just stayed little green things on the tree. And then the peaches came. And then we moved. What to do. But I learned something. Be patient. Peach trees make peaches. In time. Be patient. They didn't make apples. They didn't make pears. They didn't make other fruits. Didn't make mangoes. Just peaches. They're probably good peaches too. Probably now it's like the tree is kaput, but sure supplied some nice peaches for a while. So, bhakti bears fruit after some time. And so our business is be patient, but be enthusiastic and follow the proper standards. And proper standards includes this, our session here in Anartha Vritti. Be aware of what the unwanted things are and follow the guidelines. Do the and avoid the. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. And be careful to avoid offense. So that's our review. We've gone for almost an hour. Now we can take some more time to see if there's some further discussion, because there's always further discussion. Guru Bhakti.
In the when you discuss sadhu ninda in the class at noon, the verse said, even if a sadhu has faults, if he takes shelter of the Lord's lotus feet, he is considered a sadhu. And the remedy, if we offend such a sadhu, is to take shelter. That was the first thing in that order. So if we take shelter of someone who has bad natures, how does that affect? I have difficulty.
Well, take shelter can mean different things, commensurate to or proportionate to their quality, their capacity, their purity. We're respectful to everyone, and taking shelter, it's just don't offend, be respectful, and respect the fact that although they're not of the best character, etc., we're not taking full shelter. You take full shelter of those that are in more purified stages than the person that you just described, or that previously was described. So we respect, but not necessarily take full shelter. Okay? Stira, raise your hand.
I'm trying to understand the difference between spontaneous enthusiasm versus over enthusiasm. So, this example that we saw last, where the lady is climbing on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shoulders,
Yeah.
one could say it is over enthusiasm, but acharyas are commenting it as spontaneous enthusiasm.
So you want to know where's the dividing line?
Yes, because over enthusiasm is one of the anarthas.
And so, yes. Hers was genuine. It wasn't over enthusiasm, it was genuine. Now, it doesn't say, at least I don't recall it saying once they tapped her on the shoulder or, said, get down, get down. What did she do? Oh my God. When it's genuine, spontaneous, and someone taps one on the shoulder, then, it's a little bit like this Dhruva example. A little bit like, all it took was, Kuvera went to Swayambhuva Manu, and Swayambhuva Manu tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, Dhruva, cool it. Oh. Yes, sir. Then it's spontaneous. And over is, there's no brake pedal. Utsaha Mayi, that example. And in every regard, just overly enthusiastic. Did that help? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this morning you discussed a little bit about bhakti sukriti.
This is your question after class.
Yeah.
Okay, speak it slowly, please.
Sure.
Bhakti Sukriti.
Versus agyat sukriti. Agyat sukriti?
Unknown piety.
Yeah.
Agyata Sukriti.
Yes, Maharaj.
I'm listening.
Yeah. So what is the difference between these two sukritis?
It's just different nomenclature for the same thing. That's my understanding, at least. Does everyone understand the question? Yes. Okay. Good. Everyone understands you and you're happy with the answer.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. My question is about pride.
Pride.
Yeah. So there is naturally a devotee, a serious devotee,
Is humble.
is humble, and guards against the pride.
Yeah.
But then, what is
Hold the microphone a little further away. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, there is this. I'm for the sake of question, I'm going to use gross pride, which I am aware of, and I guard against it. But then there is a subtle pride that may be in my heart,
Yeah.
in my mind. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
So in
Have good friends. Ask your wife. She's a good friend. She's not, gonna pick on you or something.
yeah.
She'll, someone who's close to you can see things that you don't see. So keep good friends. Keep good, people that are, and then be open when they say, excuse me, Prabhu, you're heading for the ditch. What do you mean I'm heading for the ditch?
Yeah.
They're not too much in that category, but it's good to have such friends,
Yeah.
and you're open to it. When they may be reserved to say something, so they'll say nothing when they see something. You know, this, when you see something, say something. That's the blah blah thing these days.
Yeah.
You know, encourage people to be fault finders. So this is different,
Yeah.
but you know, you get the idea.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. The other question I have is chanting, the offenses that one may commit knowingly or unknowingly while chanting. An important aspect of chanting is prayerful mood. So if one is very careful and vigilant in keeping that prayerful mood or keeping the aspect of prayer very clear, will it almost guarantee that one will not commit any offenses?
Well, it's a good protection, but tendency may come out, and you know that is built into these references that I read. You know, some unexpected exhibition of something that's normally out of character, and then it may be flash and exhibited something. But you know, aside from those, yeah, it's a safety net. And if it does, then immediately one is feeling repentant. When recognizes it oneself or someone close to you says, "Excuse me, but that was not you. It was unlike your nature." You know, like Maharaj Pariksit, what he did,
Yeah.
for example. And he's way up there, but he did what he did. So, okay, you're good?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj, is it possible that we commit an offense to a Vaishnava? The Vaishnava will forgive us. Do we still get a reaction?
What do you think? Yes, no, or maybe?
Yeah, it could be yes or no, because somewhere I remember reading the Vaishnava may forgive, but the dust of the Vaishnava may not forgive.
Ah, you're a good listener.
So it seems like getting the reaction seems to be, you don't know, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was kind, he said it's okay. There may be someone else who must have taken offense. So who is to determine whether you get a reaction or not? So how do we understand?
You have to be intelligent. In other ways, you won't know. But when you get the first answer you gave is the right answer. It's right in this what we read. The Vaishnava may forgive, but the dust of lotus feet may not forgive. So touch the lotus feet of that Vaishnava, which is it's a gesture of humility, a gesture of respect and humility, and it's also taking the dust, so the dust will forgive you too. Now, it can be done figuratively or literally. Both. Okay?
Thank you.
If we finish early, I'm fine with finishing early.
Maharaj, is this offenses, committing offenses and like quality of our chanting, there is any cyclic relation in them?
Is
like
any
cyclic, that better chanting makes us do less offenses or
Yes.
more offenses?
oh, what's the cause and what's the effect? That's your question?
Or like where do we go if both are always parallelly going on?
Take a deep breath. Pray to Krishna. Start over again. You hit the refresh button. You go into this, I call it mode of goodness space. You reflect. I'm stuck. And then, so you take the situation and you consider, you tossed it in the air. What are my options? And that which you know will help you get closer to where you want to be. You do that with attention and enthusiasm and, sincerely. You keep, acting in those ways. It's another way of saying the same thing is go towards Krishna consciousness, not just anartha nivritti. We're the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not International Society for Anartha Nivritti Consciousness. So go towards Krishna. That which you know draws you closer to Krishna, and you do that. Maybe take a break and read some inspirational verses, or read something, prayers, or something. You step out of that zone and do something that you're connecting to Krishna nicely. Then you go back. You get energy, strength, purity, and you go back and start over again. You follow what I'm saying? You don't follow what I'm saying. I can tell.
Somewhat. Not
Okay, let's do it this way. Here's Prabhupada's example. Within a child, there's walking ability, but when they're learning to walk, they tumble a number of times, but they can cry when they tumble, but they keep trying and trying and trying because walking propensity is there, and after some time, they're walking. And shortly after they learn to walk, they start running. And they start running, then they're running all over the place. But in a little while before, they weren't able to walk. Because walking propensity is within, it comes out. Similarly. So while this back and forth, the propensity is there. So you follow the procedure, the step by step, little steps in the right direction, procedure. And you'll eventually, the propensity that's inside will come out. You trust in Krishna and you keep moving. Don't get stuck.
Maharaj, when anarthas hit in face, like I can see what is wrong with me. Like I have committed, I can see what is wrong with me, and what should I do? Like if I see myself as a very prideful person, a few months in the past, and some traces I can find now also. So what can I do for that? Like
You go to it. It's good to know. I'll go back 3 steps back. Before you started practicing bhakti, there was stuff inside you didn't even know was there. All of us. And then you start practicing bhakti and, oh my God, look at that stuff in there. Now, that's a step in the right direction.
yes,
There was there, you didn't, now you know it's there, and now what's the remedy?
yes.
It's not be intimidated by the stuff that's there. You continue the bhajana kriya done nicely because it takes care of the anartha nivritti.
Yes.
It's not you do the cleaning. It's not that Krishna is your janitor and he's going to do the cleaning. You just invite him in your heart and can you make this messy place nice, please? Thank you. You're a good janitor.
So we have nothing to do with it.
We're accepting the mercy of Krishna, and we want to show to Krishna that we want our hearts to be pure, so it's inviting for him. He's already there, but inviting for him. And he may, reciprocate however he wants to reciprocate, because he's independent. But we do that which we know will be pleasing to him. In principle, brings that purification that is wanted instead of the unwanted. So we just stay with the bhajana kriya in good sadhu sangha, and then keep it up. The shravanam kirtanam in different ways. The arti shravanam kirtanam, the scripture shravanam kirtanam, the japa shravanam kirtanam, sadhu sangha shravanam kirtanam. You can just continue. Remember the intention, with the intention that I want to come to that position where I genuinely I'm in service to Krishna, and he's going to smile. He's not smiling yet, but he's going to smile because he's very kind. And I'm doing it quite incompetently, and I have my shortcomings and all that humble stuff, which is true, but he'll accept. Please accept. Krishna, please accept. Like that. And you live your life that way.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what to do.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
One follow.
Okay,
another
one
question.
more, yeah.
Like Maharaj, when I hear about Krishna Katha and Krishna, this thing, most of the sadhus tell that we cannot understand Krishna. Even the great exalted people cannot understand Krishna.
Fully.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Maharaj. But they say that at the same time he's kind, and how much ever you understand, you will be interested in knowing him. But I misunderstand at that point. Like, it makes me fearful to.
No, it's a relationship. Look, it's really simple. He's unlimited. And you and I, the rest of us, we're quite limited. So how can we know the unlimited? We can't. But to whatever extent he wants to reveal himself, that much we can know. That's his kindness. And then capacity grows by Krishna's kindness. It grows and grows. Just like this, you heard the very first day, the discussion. Lord Chaitanya just piled up Rupa Goswami with blessings. This one, that one, himself, and the other one, He was able to understand things that we'll never understand. And it's quite okay. We just honor Rupa Goswami. We're not in a competition. Rupa Goswami against me. It's a joke. So don't worry about it. Just, you're tiny, that's fine. Me too.
So there is no end target,
Well, it's as much as it's a relationship. And those that are intimate, like Arjuna, Krishna gave the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Why Arjuna? Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. He wasn't a scholar, he wasn't a this, and he wasn't a that. It was his friend, a devotee. So be like that. And whatever the relationship is, that's what the relationship is. You want a very close and personal relationship, fantastic. And act that way. Stay with it.
Yes, Maharaj.
And then, in time, Krishna will, like this image on the screen, the tree will bear fruit.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj.
Okay? Okay, I see 2 hands up, and I think we're going to end with the 2 hands up. He's getting a lot of exercise.
Hare Krishna. I was wondering about how to go from the desire for liberation and being satisfied with just going back to Godhead, doing service there eternally, not coming back to the material world, versus a pure devotee who is satisfied just doing service, devotional service in the material world. Like, how to go from that mindset.
It's sadhu sangha. I have grown to like. It's the same thing. I've grown to like a verse that's in Padyavali by Rupa Goswami. Padyavali is a vali, it's a vine of Padmas. It's a little collection of verses, on different topics. And there's one of those series, it's about the chanting of the holy name. And Ishwara Puri, who was the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's some verse that he wrote. And he, with folded palms, is offering respect to those who not just are striving, but they achieve liberation. This means, that means, they purify themselves and they get liberation. Fantastic. As for myself, I'm simply looking forward to chanting the names that he describes the person whose name he's chanting, Krishna's name, this way, that way, that way, residing in Vrindavan, forever, birth after birth. It's being respectful. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the same thing. Janmani Jamanishware Bhavatad Bhakti Rahita Kitui. You know the verse, Shikshastaka. So he's saying the same thing. But, it's some things strike your heart and you remember them because they struck your heart, and you mold your life in that direction. Persons who are the perfected souls are those who are attached to the perfected souls. The eternal associates of Krishna, Vrindavan, perfected souls. And there are many such persons. Many such persons who are attached to those who are eternal associates of Krishna. I mean, do you follow? The sadhu sangha, the principle is short, is sadhu sangha. So in the course of your journey, you'll come across Vaishnavas who have that in their heart, and it comes out because it's not just their words, but it's who they are. And it resonates. And you remember that person and their words and their mood. And by that sangha, it becomes your mood. How did we become devotees? We were doing in La La Land something. And along came a devotee. And look what we're doing now. It's different. So the same principle, different application of the same principle. To go from aspiring to go back home, back to Godhead, to the point where I just want to be engaged in chanting your holy name and hearing your glories and remembering you and serving you without a material conception of life. That's what I want. So find persons, there are such persons that are like that. And, become attached to them. Become very familiar with them, hang out with them. Hear their words, offer the prayers that they pray, and you enter into that mood, and it becomes, by association, becomes in your own way, your own words, your own flavor, like that, by association. So, one more time. Your question is saying, I'm here, and I understand there are Vaishnavas that are not here. They're in this other, I don't want anything space. So how to go from wanting to go back home, back to Godhead, which as far as I know, we're supposed to want to go back home, back to Godhead. And now we're hearing we're supposed to, ideally, whatever Krishna wants to do with me. But let me simply be engaged in his loving service. So how do I go from where I am to that place? Association. And how do I do it? So then I mentioned. In course of time, as your bhakti creeper grows, you'll have particular affinity towards this devotee or this cluster of devotees or something like that. And it may change over time, and that's fine. But it's sadhu sangha. It's the principle of sadhu sangha. Up to the stage of perfection. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to Sanatana Goswami. Like from zero to perfection. And he sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu. And in the stage of perfection, sadhu sangha is imperative. Besides, we want it. It's necessary. It's not optional. So that's how you get there. What do you think? Easier said than done, right? But that's how you get there. That's the roadmap. Put that in your GPS and press go. One last question. Who was the one last question person?
Maharaj, I have a comment and a question. After the first class this morning, having some discussion with devotee when the overwhelming list of anarthas the different flavors of them, the subtle ways they come out. The appreciation is in the Japa book by Burijan Prabhu. He presents, this is Madhurya Kadambini, and he presents Bhajana Rahasya's list of anarthas in different facets. You kind of fused some of that with this. And at the end of that whole section, Burijan Prabhu writes, so how do we help ourselves? Because this can be an overwhelming list. And he says two things. Don't offend devotees and pay attention to the holy name. Just two things as an application for the future. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the book is expanding on how to pay attention to the holy name. Mm-hmm. That's just an appreciation of how, a very clear way of dealing with so many things that we see in our hearts. The question, Maharaj, is related to the quote that you had from Hari Bhakti Vilas that said, transgressions towards the Vaishnavas, there's 6 ways one can transgress in relationship with Vaishnavas, 2 of which I read and my heart sank, which was feeling angry towards a Vaishnava, and the second was not greeting a Vaishnava properly. And my question is, and unless one is of course a disciple, which you made a joke of, my question is, are there other exceptions? For example, if someone has, and is either Vaishnava, and has ridiculed, criticized persons that I look up to, and it just seems like that anger is natural and it feels to some extent justified. So what would be your advice in such a situation?
It depends. That's my advice. My advice is to think of, it depends on the circumstance, so it depends, but think of a way that you or we collectively can be of service to help this person that has made some significant offense recognize their offense and get on the other side of it. And you may not have an answer, it may take some time, but go in the direction of, away from the anger, in the direction of making a choice, contemplating a choice that might be, over a period of time, something that gives relief to that person for the suffering that they're going to have to undergo for having offended or done something, criticized someone who you respect. And go in that direction. And it may be another lifetime. It may be whatever it may be, but have that mood. It doesn't nullify, doesn't make what has happened, or your perception at least of what has happened, okay. You put some perfume on it and it smells nice. It is what it is. In offense, it's very serious business. And so the person that engages in that very serious business is going to suffer. Not the person who is being criticized. The person who's criticizing is going to suffer. And we don't want that. But, instead of just being angry about the person who's going to suffer because they made some offense, anyway, it depends on the gravity and the circumstance, the relationship, the person. Depends. But in the direction-wise, is there something? Rather than coming up with an answer, just ask the question: is there something that I or us or some of us or somebody can do to help a person that has this tendency or has done something? You may not have an answer, but it may take away the anger. Because they're going to suffer. What's my anger going to do? Nothing. It's going to hurt me. So what can be done to help the person? And one thing, choice-wise, keep a distance from a person like that. Respectful distance, but keep a distance. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.